Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be showing you the results from our community migration questionnaire that we did back when we started announcing some of those potential changes and what some of those could look like for migration going forward. It just ended up turning out that there really wasn't any actual changes that came from the announcement that they said may be done. It was really more transparency, and not necessarily full transparency, but a little bit, right? We got to figure out, well, what are some of the limits on active and normal status kingdoms, right? With normal being 350, active being 200 spots that are available for migration when those arise, and a little bit of insight into how those activity statuses are populated. So this was where we asked the community for their feedback, and we ended up getting 53 responses so far out of here, which is, I think, decent. I don't really know where I was feeling to end up. However, we're going to read through these, and there's a lot of good questions on here, and I'm always excited to hear from the community, from yourselves, on how you view certain things, whether it's finding consistencies or differences of opinion that maybe still could generate us some good ideas. So let's go ahead and we are going to read through this for as many of these bad boys as we can. So we're going to start off with what we have here. So first question. Did you like the current/previous migration system, right? Out of those, and you can even see the number of people that respond. And one of the things I always love about doing these forums is I like being able to look at it on the summary, and sometimes we'll ask questions in a way that will allow for us to see kind of what that engagement percentage is based on the total number of responses. So you can see here a whopping almost 80%, but 79% voted no, that they did not like the current or previous migration system, where is, to be fair, still the current migration system, right? It hasn't changed. But the reason we worded it that way was because we were not sure if things would change, right? And to give you a lay of the land quickly in a summarized way, the current migration system is where at the end of each season or near the end of each season, you will get a 24-hour heads-up notice when migration is going to open. It'll then stay open for 3 days, and you can then migrate to kingdoms where you spend 5,000 gems, and you can go to a kingdom as long as it is not full. It can be normal, active, or crowded. We know normal allows kingdoms 350 spots for you to migrate to. Active is 200. Even though we don't know what crowded is, I'd like to kind of give the soft guesstimate that it's around 100. So yeah, you can see here, overwhelming kind of majority for those responses, even though it's a small pool, right? And I love doing these. Hopefully we'll end up getting some more responses in the future as we go, because I love showing these off. I may even add a section for people if they want to kind of write their name down, even though we do it anonymously on purpose. Number 2, let me not die here. How far in advance should they, the developers, let players know migration is coming? This, to me, I think is a fantastic question, because it allows for you to hear from the community on, okay, well, how soon do we really think we should get notified? Because most people felt that 1 day was just not far enough. And you can clearly see that indicated here, where 1 day is, well, you had 2 people, right? 4% of the vote. Majority of the vote is 1 week, right? Where you have 34% of the vote saying, hey, we should at least get a week heads up notice. Then you have some people saying, right, second most was 3 days, which, okay, I can understand that if you're getting like a 3-day heads up notice, and that had almost 25% of the vote. Third most voted was 2 weeks, right? 12 people voted, almost 23% of the vote. I actually tend to be okay with around a week, right? If that's give or take a little bit here, I kind of like the 1 week heads up where it's like, hey, migration's coming, because really I think the biggest indicator here is that it just needs to be some type of notification where you can have leaders and officers arrange those things for their alliances if needed, and or players can just get a heads up notification so they have enough time to maybe go and shop. By shopping, I mean they can go and they can message alliance leaders and officers from other kingdoms. They can maybe make a scout account. They can kind of get a hold of in-game IDs, maybe then come back on their main and start messaging them from there. One day just isn't enough time to do that. Maybe 3 days might not really be enough too as well, depending on how many questions you have to ask. Or if it's just you solo, maybe that's a little faster compared to you as a group. Those are things you have to think about. So I kind of like the idea of somewhere between 3 and 7 days. I like the around 7 days, though. That's just my opinion. Would love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. All right, then we get into which of these would you like to see CoD adopt. So there's actually quite a few here, and my dog's so adorable. We have the number one voted, which is, and these are kind of like migration ideas, right? This does not include everything, but these were just some of the ones that I had thought of. We also gave an opportunity for people to select other if they wanted to submit their own. So we have number one, which is set a visible number limit on how many players can join a kingdom, but it would still be a free-for-all. Right, so this means that a visible number limit could be something as where if you have 350, if one person joins, then it immediately goes to 349, right? That would be an example. If you're looking at 24.5%, right, we have, okay, adding a king-queen system and allowing king-queen to accept denied players into the kingdom, right? So that got second most voted, about 25%. Then we end up getting the next most voted here, which is at 8. So 15, it says raise amount of players that can join. Can you go put Max in his cage, please? Thank you, sweetie. Raise amount of players that can join, still a free-for-all. So this would be basically saying, okay, we're going to increase the total or overall amount of players that can join kingdoms. Now, of course, this could be specific kingdoms, right? I had to kind of simplify the wording some here, but it would still be a free-for-all. The reason why is because some people felt that the 200 number and or 350 number may just not have been strong and may not have been high enough for some of the kingdoms, right? And again, we're talking about, really if you're looking at a kingdom, for example, like 32, maybe a kingdom like 31, 33, who could potentially have a large number, and other kingdoms too as well. It's just we heard more of this happening in 32, where you had kind of one of the two families who were looking to try, from what we hear, to move out, right? And again, if you have multiple alliances within your group, it's difficult, and that can just be for any kingdom for that matter, to where you're trying to move a large number of players, but the cap just does not allow it. On top of this, you also have to consider that because the current migration state is in a free-for-all, anyone can go anywhere at any point in time, right? There's no accept deny feature. So if an alliance wants to try and move, let's say, 150 people, that's very difficult to do, where in order for you to actually try to guarantee that every single one of those 150 people are going to be able to move over into a kingdom, because remember, the moment that migration opens, players can start moving immediately, right? And there's nothing that's actually telling you, hey, these people cannot move, leave it, or, for example, that, hey, these are the actual numbers that are being decreased after some people join. So those are things that, again, you have to consider, and why I think it's important for, one, there to be a little bit more transparency, but two, when it comes to people actually joining kingdoms, you don't know if rogues are going to join, right? You have no idea what the intention is behind people joining. And to me, I think that's important if you're trying to create an environment where kingdoms are a little bit more healthy, and you have the opportunity to let in good eggs rather than potentially bad eggs, right? Because nobody wants to let someone into a kingdom and all they're going to do is kind of ravage, right? Now, bear in mind, we do not have home kingdoms in the traditional sense, right? But you do have the ability where players can join your kingdom, and they can still be in the same KVK group, right? And so those things, to me, I just think are really important when it comes to how you may view playing with someone. Because even though you may not play with someone in your home kingdom all the time, you still may be seeing someone all the time if they join your kingdom, whereas you may not see them as often if they're not in your kingdom, and then you're getting paired with different kingdoms within your KVK pool, or KVK group, we should say. Okay, then we get to and let's read some of these, right? So we had 13% allow players to register in advance for migration prior to the kingdom's migration opening, right? So this is kind of like, hey, you could pre-register ahead of time. However, that could be a way. I want to point out that could be a somewhat of a kind of middle ground solution where maybe all 150 of your players in the alliances can register, and if, let's say, your 150 is within that 200 or within that 350, then you guys all stay on board. Otherwise, if you're not, then you remove all. All right, you uncheck or you'd unregister, and then you go and register with another kingdom. So those are ways that you can attempt to kind of figure things out. But again, I still don't know if it's going to be 100%. I don't know if it's as foolproof as accepting denying, right? So that's something that's really important. Okay, then let's get to what are the reasons you have migrated out of a kingdom. This, to me, I think is really important because I think it shows a lot of insight into the player psychology of why it is that they would want to leave a kingdom or stay in a kingdom for that matter. But we're going to focus on why would they leave. 22.6% of the vote, low kingdom activity. And I think that's pretty standard, right? If your kingdom is low, if your kingdom has low population, that is a big reason on why you would want to leave, because maybe you just don't have enough people to do behemoths. Maybe you don't have enough people to do elite behemoths. Maybe you don't have enough people to do AVA events. Maybe there's just not a lot of action happening in your kill events, right? In your strongest lords. There could be, or again, maybe you just don't have enough people in line to give you a specific number of helps within a fast or a shorter timeline that you're looking for. Those are things that are really important to consider. Then you get to the second most, which is 21%. Want to play with friends in another kingdom. That, to me, I actually think could be a little bit higher, right, if we ended up getting more than 53 responses. But you could see kind of in the top two for, if I want to go play with friends, it makes it very difficult for me because I can't migrate to a specific kingdom. I can only migrate to kingdoms that are within my current KVK pool. So I have to hope and pray that I'm going to get matched up against other kingdoms in future pools so I can then go and play with my friends. 17%, whales eating everything in sight, right? 17% of the vote. Where it's, hey, they're just kind of going around and attacking anyone and everyone, right? Those are reasons why you would want to get out. Now, whether it's you getting out because you don't want to get matched up in the same KVK group with them because you know all they're going to do is just run rampant, again, that is something for a reason on why you may not want to stay in that kingdom in hopes of not being matched with those players because maybe in your view that kingdom may be toxic. And again, there's still ways to get around it, even though it's not really as foolproof as having a home kingdom that you could potentially go back to, right, if you didn't want to go to KVK. And so, which again kind of gets to a bigger point, right? I'm all about options. I don't really like forcing things on people. So I like the ability for people to choose, right, if they want to go and participate in something or not. So when you look at the current system where you basically have forced KVKs, again, it kind of counteracts that idea, right, of kind of free player movement, right, choosing what you want to engage on or not. Okay, then let's get to 11, poor kingdom leadership, right? So that's another reason why people would leave, right? Maybe the leadership isn't that well, whether it's the alliance is leading, maybe it's a governing body that isn't doing too well, reasons on why you'd want to move out. Want a more competitive kingdom for KVK, right? Maybe you want the kingdom to be more active. Maybe you want the kingdom to be more focused on objectives or engaging in doing more fights, right? Those could be reasons. Okay, now let's go. I think we only have a couple more here, 3 more. So let's get to this one. Under a system where migration can allow anyone to join at any time, how do you feel about this? Fine for now. I think it leads to just a few powerful kingdoms and a lot of other dead kingdoms, but I don't know that there is a solution to that problem. It's not even necessarily a problem that most active players and fighters want to play the game together. I find it quite difficult to make sure you have the right people migrating. For example, if players are quitting the game and just want a last annoying act, they could migrate over just to take a spot away from someone else. Okay, true. Inactive whales can inflate a kingdom's matchmaking, go rogue. That's another good point. Bad, easy trolling, and will cut off players who can't get in on time due to time zones, etc. We'll just alienate a player base into quitting or playing in dead servers. Yeah. And dead servers, that is fine. I don't think that if someone stronger migrates to a kingdom is bad because it's same as if someone in that weaker server spent a lot of money and got maxed. Okay. And I'm only going to read a few here. And then the migration system should aim to, right, kind of what are you looking for? Are you looking to balance the kingdom powers where you see the majority of the vote? Second, allow players to go anywhere they want regardless of how strong kingdoms get, right, which is kind of normal for why some people would view it that way. And then we just have a few kind of 1%ers here. And again, just for sake of time, I'm only just going to read a few more because I got to get off ladies staring at me. If different from above, how would you like to see migration work in CoD? I would really enjoy the King-Queen feature just would be an interesting one to add at this point in the game. So as I feel like it would have to be implemented more so before this rushed time. Would be very helpful to make sure we get the players that we want to migrate over and not players just bandwagoning over. Great point. Keep it as is, but find an immediate solution to the inevitable side effect of many dead servers. Each merge will kill servers due to players power hopping to the top winning alliance. This will have a topple effect where one kingdom per merge will have a huge influx of migration, whilst the other servers will leak players. What happens to those servers? Another good point. They need to either increase the merger capacity from 4 to 6 or 8 for the losing servers, or add a 5th low-pop server to each season with full transparency that this server will be shut down at the end of the season, so that gives them this season to find a new permanent home. Okay, that's interesting. Activity-based migration, they already have a system to measure activity, could easily use that to cap migration. So I don't think that there is a way to make everyone happy. Devs will have to decide if they want to play with their friends and have fun in a different server, or if they want balanced servers. They should avoid dividing people from start to play together in S1+. Okay, so again, just a few. Wish I could read a lot more. I'm going to try and figure out a way to maybe make this public, if I can, or maybe doing it a different way, so that way people can at least read the responses for all of them. But I'll be working on that next time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think about the data that we pulled here? And would you be interested if we get more people to respond in the future? That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.